Welcome Year 7 to our fourth lesson in our flipped classroom learning prep. Today what we're going to be doing is timber preparation. What this means is how your timber goes from the tree to your CO2 car. So timber preparation refers to how timber goes from a tree to the timber you will receive in class. It's a complex process, so make sure you pay attention. And remember, you can always watch the video twice if you need to. So, where do we get our timber from? In Australia, there are a number of plantation forests. They're usually in around South Australia, Victoria, just because the climate's a bit better for our trees to grow. Okay, and they are growing specifically to be cut down to be used for timber. Okay, and this process takes up to 25 years from the tree to grow to its full size. So you think when you plant a tree, it's really small. The trunk is tiny. Okay, 25 years later, you get a nice big thick trunk where you can cut that down and use it to cut down for timber. All right, and the reason why we have these plantations is to stop illegal cutting down of our forests. You think 20, 30, 40 years ago, we had lots of forests around the world, and most of them have been either completely eliminated or reduced in size. So what the world has tried to do is to plant these plantation forests where the trees are specifically grown to be cut down for timber, so that they're not cutting down trees within actual rainforests and ruining animals' ecosystems, ruining the soil, ruining our waterways, all that kind of thing. It has been slowed down massively because of these plantation forests. Okay, so this diagram is showing us how we get our timber. Okay, so you look over here, that's the actual forest. Okay, and then from there, you'll notice it goes through here to where this is called hauling. I know this diagram is really hard to read, okay, but this is the best one I could find. Hauling is where it's loaded onto the back of a truck and transported over here to the sawmill. And what the sawmill does is it cuts the timber into the big tree trunks into different lengths and sizes so that you can use it as your timber that you get from the shop. Okay, so from the sawmill it then goes to sorting and stacking, where it's sorted for defects, and it's stacked nice and flat with gaps in between so the air can get to the timber. And the reason for that is when a tree is growing, there's obviously moisture from the ground. When the tree gets wet, the timber is really, really wet. What we have to do is we have to get that wetness out of the timber to help it stay straight so you don't get all cupped and bowed pieces of timber. And then from there, it goes to the seasoning section, which is over here. Now the seasoning section is where it goes into a kiln oven, and I'll explain what a kiln oven is in a moment. And what that does is it dries the timber out completely, gets rid of all the leftover moisture, all right, and allows us to have a nice straight piece of timber. And from there it goes to remanufacture, where it gets distributed to companies such as Bunnings, Masters, any hardware that you can go and buy your timber from every day. Okay, steps in the process. So cutting down of trees, this is where the large machinery cut down the trees in the plantation forest. The sawmill, okay, once the trees have been cut, they're transferred to the sawmill, where the trees are cut down in different ways to create large bits of timber. Okay, so if you look at this diagram here, what it's showing you is the different ways that the sawmill will cut that tree trunk. Okay, so you'll notice they're all different sizes, different pieces of timber, but that's how many pieces you can get out of one trunk. Sorting and stacking. So this process is where the timber is sorted and stacked for defects, and stacked to allow air to remove as much moisture from the timber as possible. Now you'll notice on this diagram, this is where the seasoning comes in. Okay, the timber is loaded into a kiln oven, which is that big garage looking thing that's on the diagram. Okay, and what that is like an oven inside. You turn on the oven, and what it does is it draws all the moisture out of the timber and makes it completely dry, which is what you want. Okay, remanufacture. So at this stage of the process, the timber is sent out to large companies who sell the timber to companies like Bunnings. What they will do is cut the timber to sizes that make it easy to sell and transport. So you think about how big a tree is. Sometimes they can be up to 30 meters high. You're not going to be able to buy that from Bunnings and put it on your average ute that your parents might have. Okay, so what they'll do is they'll cut it to good sizes where you can fit it on normal passenger car vehicles. Okay, and then that way Bunnings can move it quickly. It's easy for everyone to purchase. Okay, and selling to the public, so that's where you go to the hardware and you buy it. And remember, and we're lucky because all the hard work is done for us. We don't have to do anything to the timber, only cut it to the sizes that we need to build the furniture or any products that we want to build. So where to from here? So from this step, we buy the timber, cut and finish to whatever application we need. Now remember, before you do this, you need to use the knowledge gained in sandpaper and car paints before attempting to do anything to your timber. Okay, so think about different sandpaper types, the grain direction you need to do, the different paints you want to use before you start anything. Okay. Now remember, take notes and get ready for class. What you need to do is you need to take notes from this presentation, bring your notes to class so you can write your half-page reports inside your folios. Okay. Hope that video was helpful, guys, and I'll see you in class tomorrow.